No spoilers ahead.
I'm Johnny. Welcome to my house of horrors. "2013's Evil Dead is a continuation of 1981's The Evil Dead. Now, if you're not sure how the term continuation applies to movies, the dictionary defines it as the act of making a shitload of money off somebody else's creativity. Let's take a look.
The plot.
The movie cold opens with a banged-up young lady staggering through a foggy forest until she's captured and dragged off to a super shitty party. It's decorated with dead cats and hosted by a Welsh apple doll, some burn victims, and her father. When Dad douses her in gasoline and lights a match, she transforms into a typical, foul-mouthed, OnlyFans content creator, so her dad blows her away, which is totally understandable. The cast meets up at the requisite cabin in the woods. There's Olivia, a know-it-all nurse, Eric, the explainer of plots, Mia, the final girl, David, her brother, and his girlfriend Natalie, the innocent. Mia is the world's healthiest-looking heroin addict, and David's addicted to not being around much. But he's here this weekend to help Mia kick her habit cold turkey. David missed the passing of their mother, and Mia is pissed, so David makes up for all of it by giving her a familiar-looking buckthorn necklace to get her through the agonies of withdrawal.
You know how you could guarantee it would help her? Dip it in methadone.
When the gang realizes the front door's been kicked in, they totally ignore it. David's girlfriend Olivia is meeting everyone for the first time, and if you thought it was awkward meeting your partner's friends and family at a wedding, normally heroin withdrawal symptoms include insomnia, fever, diarrhea, severe aches and pains, but when it's a Hollywood star, they also scream like a fox in a trap to make sure everyone notices their suffering. When they uncover a huge bloodstain under the rug, they act like responsible, intelligent adults by completely ignoring it as well. They step over the massive pool of blood and head into the dark cellar, where they find dozens of dead cats hanging from the roof.
That means this is where the opening scene took place, which in turn means that guy broke into a random cabin, went down into the dank, unventilated cellar, set his own daughter on fire, breathed in all those yummy daughter barbecue fumes, then wrapped up the world's most dangerous book in barbed wire and left it there.
For dinner, they cut up some raw beef because sandwiches aren't very scary to look at. Olivia, the know-it-all nurse, who definitely has the patient's best interests in mind, watches on through the window as Mia marches around in the rain blaming everything on God, which could be the real reason why everything else in this movie happens. Meanwhile, Eric, the smart one, ignores black bags, barbed wire, and 32 written warnings so he can open the book and utter the infamous words to set this story in motion. After seeing a version of herself in the forest dressed in white, Mia tells David to drive her home immediately because she knows something's very wrong.
She's way too moody and artistic to ever wear white.
When David refuses, she snaps his not methadone necklace and takes off in one of the cars. Seconds later, her ivory counterpart screams her right off the road. Because screaming is scary and not annoying at all. This leads to Fede Alvarez's version of the infamous tree scene from the 1981 classic, which is weird given that Sam Raimi co-produced this movie and has said openly he regrets the original scene.
Maybe it snuck its way back into the movie because that CGI bullshit makes it look less offensive. Or maybe...
Back in the cabin, Mia's a wreck, and everyone thinks it's the drugs. But David's her brother, so he sits down with her, and as soon as he realizes she's far worse than he thought, he leaves her alone, trembling in the dark. And when David suggests they're out of their depth, Nurse Know-It-All reminds everyone she's giving Mia the exact same treatment she'd be getting in a hospital. And if I was there with Nurse Know-It-All, I'd be all like,
"You shouldn't have touched anything from that basement."
She shouldn't be offering advice to anybody about anything. Except maybe how to find a vein between your toes in a poorly lit alleyway.
Obviously, Eric has a Latin dictionary with him, so he deciphers the book. And we know he's the right person to do it because he's wearing glasses.
If you really want to scare people, a director's greatest ally is the viewer's imaginations. Imply something terrible and let them dwell on it for a while.
But Alvarez takes a different approach by showing us actual pictures of what's going to happen, which is great because it means we don't have to think at all. And again, when David finds the dog's pulverized body outside, Alvarez could have let this fester for a few minutes, but instead, he shows us exactly what happened.
So, instead of having to imagine how the dog died, we're forced to imagine how the hell nobody heard her doing it.
When David goes inside, Mia is burning her face off in the shower because it's in the book, silly.
Her burns are serious, like second, third degree.
This is so wrong.
Well, nobody could have known she would do something so twisted.
No, you should have known. We've all been following your lead since we got here.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Everything's gonna be fine. Have you not noticed the most believable aspect of this plot is demonic possession?
Mia?
Even those second and third degree burns that you're all worried about right now, they just disappear later. They just vanish. We took that from the Evil Dead.
Oh my God, what happened to her eyes?
We also took that from the Evil Dead.
Go get the shot!
David, listen to me. I don't think impersonating John Travolta is going to do shit. Get shot! I'm scared this movie's gonna divide audiences because we completely missed the point. And what's with the Deadites? They're wearing $6 contact lenses and they swear more than Dexter Morgan's sister.
Are you even listening to me, you fucking f***er?
Nurse Know-It-All hacks her face off in the bathroom, but you knew that was going to happen because it's in the book. And in case the picture wasn't detailed enough for you, they also show it in the mirror immediately before it happens. When Eric checks on her, she stabs him repeatedly with the needle that Eric walked over on his way in, because that's where she dropped it. Sam Raimi's famously got 3 rules about horror, and the first one is that the innocent must suffer. And that's where Natalie comes in. But Natalie's special effects scene doesn't come from the book, it comes from the filthy mouth of a drug addict. And if you thought we've been spoon-fed enough info already, Eric pukes up a detailed blueprint of what's gonna happen at the end of the movie. There's mathematical equations and scary words like abomination.
Isn't that a scary word? Aren't you scared?
And when it's finally time for Natalie's special effects scene, she uses the 1970s carving knife to separate her from her possessed hand.
Don't fucking put your fucking hand up, you fucking... Don't do it!
Fuck you.
You! Can speak to me, you fucking fucker!
And now's normally the time when the hero rallies the troops for the big final fight. But Evil Dead doesn't have a hero, so Eric does it instead. He thinks they should kill Mia, but he's also said he can't read most of the book's ancient language. So I'm guessing he suggested killing her because he's fed up getting his ass kicked. Either way, he gets nowhere because Natalie's in full makeup now, and she's one hell of a shot. She goes to town on poor Eric until David finally grows some ghoulies and blows off her other arm. David begs Eric not to die because it'll mean he'll have to sort things out himself. But when Eric starts fading, David's forced to be the hero. He soaks the entire place in gasoline, but he can't be the hero because his sister sung a song. Then a soaking wet tree catches fire outside and kicks off an Ash Williams-style montage that leads up to David trying to kill Mia to save her. But she kicks his heroic ass up and down the cellar before almost drowning him in the lake that's collected down there. And for his final living act, Eric saves his friend before he's overcome by his multiple injuries. And David repays him for saving his life by carrying his body up. Oops, wrong notes. He lets Eric slump into the shitty water and leaves. David covers Mia's head in a plastic bag, puts her in her mother's red dress, and buries her alive. Why? Because it's in the book. And why the red dress? Because symbolism. And he knows it's time to resurrect her when the flame goes out on the tree, which is also symbolism according to Alvarez. David connects 2 hypodermic needles to a car battery and goes full Mia Wallace on Mia. And hey, she comes back to life. All her blisters have vanished, and for a girl at the peak of opioid withdrawal who was just dead, she's doing really well. David goes inside to grab the keys, but Eric is fuming about being cast off like Georgie Denbro's paper boat, so David takes one in the neck. And this leaves Mia, the drug addict, who was a total bitch before she was even possessed. She killed the family dog, she hurled all over Nurse Know-It-All, she bit Natalie, she shot her brother and tried to drown him, and she stabbed Eric to death. But despite all of this, after fighting off the abomination who looked like a Tootsie Roll in a tank top, she ends up with the coveted final girl status.
So that was the plot of 2013's Evil Dead. Let's see if it possesses anything worth remembering.
The good bits.
Jane Levy had to be all over the place in this movie. She was chronically pissed off, coming down off of drugs, possessed by something nasty, somewhere between possession and ultimately Jane-Claude Van Damme. So hats off to her for a rock-solid horror performance. Visual effects and sound effects are major elements when it comes to a horror movie's success. 9 times out of 10, practical effects win the day, and Evil Dead's spilling over with them. They're close-up, they're detailed, they're well-lit and gleaming and splashing and visceral. When it comes to story, I'm on the fence here. What I liked is that they attempted to give it a story. The conflict between the siblings causes tension all around, which is what you find in good movies. And the drug addiction angle could have worked too, if it wasn't for
The shite bits.
this supporting cast was one-dimensional and forgettable. Yes, they served a purpose, they were stabbed and shot and sliced and diced, and I get that. It's just unremarkable and uninventive. These Deadites are not Deadites, and to me this makes a huge difference. Alvarez gave them Linda Blair's eyes, but he didn't bother including Pazuzu's wit, which renders these Deadites interchangeable with every other silent, mindless slasher in pursuit. I said I was on the fence with the story. I appreciated the idea of giving the cabin in the woods trope a bit of depth, but the movie feels like a load of random scenes thrown together with bits of other movies and then drawn into a book to give the impression of cohesion. The addiction angle totally failed because it vanished, and Mia ended up the final girl not because of her actions but in spite of them.
The verdict.
So, if you haven't seen Alvarez's Evil Dead yet, should you?
You should.
It's fast-paced, it's gory, it's well shot, and it's an Evil Dead movie. The original is one of the most important films in horror history. If for no other reason, watch this one so you can make comparisons and complain.
I've heard the complaining part can be a lot of fun. It's me, Johnny, from that thing you just watched. If you liked it, go down the bottom corner there, smash me in the face to subscribe. If you want to watch another thing, there's one right there. Do it.